white people can't really be telling me about my money because they don't know how I get my money. They don't know the cultural stigma that comes around money and how difficult it is to unlearn all of that.
Siri, play that back. Hi folks, Berna here, your financial hype woman, and we are on episode 2 of Hella Helpful Storytime, serving you 2 things that you did not even know you needed. Asian American Pacific Islanders, but make it dark skin-o, talking about a very taboo topic, money. The amount of love you all showed for Daphne in our last videos, just mwah. And so per popular demand, we will not stop serving up these incredibly important stories. This week, we have a good friend of mine, Jazmine, fellow Pinay, also fellow financial lifelong learner. Let's go.
My name's Jazmine, I am 20. I am pursuing a degree in public health, and I'm hoping to also eventually go to med school and become a doctor. I'm an immigrant. I immigrated to the US from the Philippines when I was about 10. So I'm fluent in English and Tagalog. I speak a little bit of Ilocano, but I can understand it fully. Both my dad and my mom grew up poor, and that has affected largely how I perceive money and how my family perceives money.
Spoiler alert. Now I want y'all to pay special attention to this next part. It might just seem like a young woman talking through all the wins of her money life, which it is. But as an immigrant, try to imagine what Jazmine had to navigate by herself and with her family in order to build this financial life all by herself.
Thankfully right now, with the help of Berna and other people in my life, specifically my boyfriend, I have just opened up my first independent bank account that is just me and not viewed by anyone else, not my parents. And I also opened up my very first emergency fund bank account with Capital One. I just also opened up a Roth IRA retirement fund. I've also started investing through M1 Finance, all within the same month, which is scary.
I don't think we BIPOC, dark-skinned AAPI women give ourselves enough credit for the fact that as already disadvantaged people, we are often left to figure out this money thing for ourselves. And not only are we figuring it out, but we're doing it while climbing this mountain that folks of privilege often don't have to climb, and it's called Mount Unlearning All the Wrong Shit.
Wrong shit.
Tell us about it, Jazz.
So culture and traditions have impacted the way I view and treat my money immensely. Both of my parents grew up poor, and they mostly had to focus on surviving and finding stable jobs and providing for not only themselves but really mostly their families back home. They're also sending money to their siblings, to their parents. That has obviously taught them how to save money, but it has also taught them how to be very cautious with the way they spend their money. When things are a necessity, of course you spend your money there, but when it is things that you want or things that make you feel good but are not necessarily essential for survival, then you kind of have to sit and think, okay, do I really need this, or can my family back home from the Philippines use this money instead of me getting myself a cup of coffee or getting myself something nice because, I've been working really hard. Money was mostly just used for survival purposes and not necessarily tied to taking care of yourself or enjoyment or anything like that. I think it's definitely taught me to be scared of my money. Of course, I love making money. I love getting paychecks, but I think that because I have just been taught to kind of save it and save it and save it, when I do spend, I spend. And I spend it on things that give me instant gratification because I rationalize it as it adds to my survival. If I'm happy at this moment and I'm getting food that I want and it's like takeout and it's late and I've been studying all day, in that sense I have not really been responsibly saving my money.
You are actively watching someone walk backwards through a money current, do the opposite of what we're often told in our families and our cultures our entire lives long, which is to never talk about money. That kind of backwards navigating, that takes energy and strength, and we're already tired.
My parents have not really talked about this because money is supposed to be an adult business, and although I am about to turn 21, I have only recently, maybe for a full year now, have had my own bank account, and I've opened that behind my parents' backs because they would not let me open my own bank account. And it wasn't because I was trying to like buy shady stuff or just do weird things with money. It was just, I wanted to learn about money. I wanted to be financially free and independent, but I have been stopped by my parents multiple times, even just asking questions about credit cards, and they just explained to me that credit cards were just bad. Although I have started to make a lot of money moves and, you know, they're big steps, I'm scared shitless that my money is going somewhere and I can't control it. And I think that's a very cultural thing as well, is to have control over your money, to like keep it under your bed and not let anyone touch it, not let anyone know what is going on with your money, because it's almost like the less you talk about it, the less danger it's in, which I think now is something I'm trying to unlearn.
Whew, sing it again. Control is such a neon lights word when it comes to immigrant families and money. As an immigrant, there is so much that's outside of your control. And so you do all that you can to dig your fingers into the things that you can control, like money, mostly. Giving our money rules, feelings, restrictions, whether or not they're accurate or healthy, it makes us feel like we have some type of power in a world where we are often at the bottom of the social food chain. And sometimes that power can go a bit too far.
So I really appreciate the transparency that Berna's been giving her audience, because it's been saved my life. My dad handles all the finances within our family, and that's been really tough because we obviously can't be all dependent on him for all financial knowledge. So I think that not only can I handle my own finances, but in the future, both my parents are not around anymore, or one of them are not around, I can at least help some way. I think that men in my culture are definitely taught to be smart with their money, to handle all the finances of the family, and to not let money be a problem for any other members in the family except you. But then that becomes tricky because mortality is a very real thing. You know, leaving your family members to be financially illiterate because you think it's the man's job I do think that it's time to change that habit and to break that cycle.
Boom, she hit it right there. We do have the power to do exactly what Jazmine is doing. Look back at what you were taught, the things that happened to you in the past. Look inward at how that has affected you now, what you're doing right now, and then look forward into the future and decide, do I want to keep teaching this? Do I want to keep living this way? Do I want to keep passing on these financial scars and traumas and insecurities? Or do I become the beginning of the ripple effect of my family? Do I start that ripple effect of financial literacy that will literally last generations on generations on generations on generations on generations?
I feel like I have always treated money to be either my enemy or like my bestest friend, which is not the best way. I think that it's hard for me to be detached about my financial worth, because I think as an immigrant and as a woman of color, money equates success. I think that it's really, really important for us to be taught how to very intelligently manipulate our money to make more money, because unfortunately we don't come from generational wealth. We are basically our parents' hopes. I think that it's really important to find people that you can identify with to tell you about your money, because white people can't really be telling me about my money because they don't know how I get my money. They don't know the cultural stigma that comes around money and how difficult it is to unlearn all of that, all the habits that we're taught and the beliefs that we're taught. So I can't really be having like a straight white man tell me about my money because we lead two different lives. So I think it's definitely very important to also find representation within all of that.
Siri, play that back.
So I can't really be having like a straight white man tell me about my money because we lead two different lives.
I have no further questions, Your Honor. Huge thank you to Jazmine, who, like Daphne from our first episode, is spending her precious time and energy actively learning out loud for all of us, and actively every day fighting against the notion that a good, dark-skinned AAPI woman doesn't talk about money. And I am so grateful that I have Jazmine, Daphne, and all of y'all watching to join me when we say, fuck that. You can find Jazmine at Petty of Color on Instagram. And you can always find me at Hey Berna on all the things on all the internets. If you are a dark-skinned AAPI and you have a money story to share, please DM me ASAP. This has been Berna, your financial hype woman. Bye.